Welcome to the JP8 Report. This is James Pierce with the JP8 Report, episode 448. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. I got high-speed internet. I got breaking news. Hold on. How in the world do you do that? Fauci invokes Fifth Amendment right not to answer questions in the Senate hearing on COVID. You can't, he has no right to the Fifth Amendment. Wow. Why couldn't this have been a few more minutes earlier? So you got breaking news. If you're just now watching this, Anthony Fauci invokes Fifth Amendment right not to answer questions in the Senate hearing on COVID. There's going to be an immediate referral to the Department of Justice for him to be charged. Wow. Okay. All right. So breaking news. Wow. Right off the bat. Really. All right. Well, welcome to the JP8 Report. Where are we going at? Oh, yeah. Click that follow button as we get started here this morning if you're not already following the breaking news. Go to the bell and then click and go down to the bottom and click the word follow, and you're a follower of the podcast, right? And then also give me a thumbs up, like for the show today, all right? And then you can chat if you want. Nobody's in the chat yet, but hopefully that's going to change pretty quick. Let's see. We got all that, and then, man, that just blew me away right there. My internet is totally fixed now. I can print. I got high speed. I got 1.9 gig download on my computer here when we checked it with the speedbit.net. Yeah, man, I thought there was smoke coming out of this thing. But okay, so I digress because we got lots of news and only 57 more minutes to cover it in. All right, and then I am going to raid over to the Dan Bongino show today. What's his name? Sean Farish. He is guest hosting for Dan Bongino at 1 hour from now. All right, so let's go. America 250. We have a letter from General Washington to the Board of War. That's a committee within the Second Continental Congress. All right, hold on. Let me drink a tea first. Okay. Gentlemen, at length, I have been able to comply with the first part of the resolution of Congress of the 27th relative to the return of the vacancies in the several regiments composing that are part of the Army under my immediate command. I thought I have made this return much sooner, but the dispersed situation of our troops and constant duty they are upon, the difficulty of getting returns when this is the case, especially when those returns are more than probable to undergo several corrections and a variety of important occurrences which have been intervened of late to withdraw the attention from the matter, which will, I hope, be admitted as an excuse, and the delay is not ascribed to any disinclination in me to comply with the order, as I shall, while I am the honor to remain in the service of the United States, obey to the utmost of my power and to the best of my abilities all the orders of Congress with a scrupulous exactness. A little bit of sarcasm in there. With respect to the latter part of the aforementioned resolution on the 27th of June, I have to observe that I have handed in the names of such persons as the field officers of the several regiments and the brigades have pointed out as proper persons to fill these vacancies. I have neither added to or diminished aught from their choice unless the following special information, which I can conceive my indispensable duty to give should occasions any alterations. Then it goes through a bunch of people, names and people that we have. We have like General Heath here, and then that's the only name I recognize in there. So we'll dispense with that. So he has been. They have a fully functioning ward committee that's operating within the uh, the Second Continental Congress, and they just gave him complete authority as Commander in Chief of the entire United States military. All right. So that was written on the 29th of July, 1776. All right. Next is the armament shop. Um, whether you're looking for your first firearm, upgrading your setup, or need expert service, Jason at the Armament Shop is Copper's Code's premier source for all things shooting. Browse our wide selection of pistols, rifles, and shotguns backed by top-tier gunsmithing for repairs, along with reloading supplies and professional cleaning to keep your firearm in peak condition. Need a transfer? We make FFL transfers fast, easy, and affordable. Need your CHL? We make need your CHL. I'm looking at this breaking news. Okay, never mind. It's the same thing. Need a transfer? We make need your transfer, need your CHL. Jason can handle those classes in person and online. He has over 3 decades of experience. Visit the Armament Shop today at 115A West Avenue D in Coppers Cove, or call or text 254-560-2023, or visit www.armamentshop.com. That's www.armamentshop.com. The Armament Shop. Your safety is our priority. And like I was just saying, Anthony Fauci, it's been all over the news, going all over the place right now, that he exercises Fifth Amendment rights, which I think I misspoke just a minute ago. He does retain his Fifth Amendment rights. I do believe, but no, he can't exercise that because he's received a pardon and is required to tell the truth in relationship to the pardon. All right. I'm not a lawyer. I'm sure this will be all over the news. I know what I'm going to be having on here tomorrow. Right. All right. Let's get on with the Iran update. The U.S. and Saudi Arabian forces did airstrikes last night against Iranian-backed militia in the eastern part of Iraq. Canada condemns Iran on their continued executions of their citizens. There's been a proposed Strait of Hormuz deal between Iran and Oman, creating or safeguarding the central commercial sea route through the strait, right? And there will be no tolls and no fees. Iran fails in an attempted attack against the United States forces. They were over Jordan. They've fired several ballistic missiles that crossed over Iraq into Jordan, and they were all shot down. Attempted attack on a vessel in the Red Sea by the Houthi rebels. The Hamas heads to Egypt for ceasefire talks, and President Trump and Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu had talks yesterday at the White House about intelligence. And then the U.S. has 20 ships involved in enforcement of the blockade at the mouth of the Strait of Hormuz. The Dow Jones right now, it opens up in about 20 minutes. It settled in yesterday plus 537.24, and it was at 52,547.32. West Texas Intermediate about 30 minutes ago was at $82.68 a barrel, and Brent crude oil is at $88.05 a barrel. All right, that's your Iran update. We're going to do our announcements before we get into all this news that's breaking all over the place. All right. Let's see. Pints in Politics will take place in Belton on the 6th of August at 6 p.m. at the Dead Fish Grill, which is located on the south side of Belton Dam in Belton, Texas. Okay? That's with Elephant in the Room Strategies. Next, I want to talk to you about is Copper's Cove Conservative Club. We have our monthly social on Tuesday, August 11th at 6 p.m. at Giovanni's in Copper's Cove. That's the group I helped found. Then we have the Boots and Bling, the Coryell County Republican Women Boots and Bling. It's our summer social. It's at the Texas Station Event Center in Gatesville, Texas. The keynote speaker will be Steve Munaseri. They're going to have food provided, fajita dinner provided by El Tapatio. And it starts at 6 p.m. also. It'll be Saturday, August 22nd. The tickets are $50 a person. And you can purchase tables for your group if you want, right? Next one is Coryell County Republican Party Patriot Range fundraiser on the August 29th. That is $20 a person for unlimited firing. And then afterward, if you like alcohol, we have Curmudgeon's Winery. It's going to be there. It's going to be a pretty cool day. I hope get this arranged. The armament shop is going to be up there. It's going to bring some cool weapons to fire, and you bring extra ammo for people to fire also. All right. And then September 26th is the annual fish fry for Coryell County Republican Party. It's going to be September 26th at 6 p.m. at the Texas Station Event Center. And the keynote speakers for that is Dorinda Randall. She's the chairwoman for the Republican Party of Texas. And Senator Pete Flores from Senate District 24, which is what we're in right here, right? But that's going to be, I think tickets are $35 a person, and we'll be able to purchase tables there, I believe, also. All right? But yeah, so that's 2 months out, but you can already buy tickets for the Coryell County Republican Women and for Coryell County Republican Party. If you want to purchase tickets to those events right there, if you go to the description of the podcast that I put out before, where it says America 250. If you go in that block and scroll to the bottom, because you got to click more, you'll see 2 instances with hyperlinks on them. That goes to each one of them. All right. So Anthony Fauci. Let's see if there's anything been updated on the news about this. It's all video. I hate it when they do that. It's happening too fast. Let's see what they say here. Hold it. Mum's the word. Okay, so the breaking news. Dr. Anthony Fauci pleaded the Fifth Amendment at the start of his Wednesday hearing, ripping Senator Rand Paul for unhinged remarks and claiming the only purpose for the Homeland Security Committee's investigation was to put him behind bars. Given Well, I would say he probably has a reason for that because he has an illegal pardon because it should have been signed by the president instead of the autopilot signing it. All right? But I digress. Given Senator Paul's obvious obsession with calling for my prosecution, his repeated slanderous comments about me, and recently his publicly released my unredacted personal diary aimed at embarrassing and intimidating me, the only conclusion I can reach is the sole reason he is calling me before this committee is to get me to say something, anything that would vindicate his repeated public pledges that I end up, in his words, behind bars. Any reasonable person who has followed this unhinged obsession with me would readily come to the same conclusion. Therefore, although it pains me to do so because of the respect I have for the legislative branch of government and my decades of long record for cooperating with Congress under advice of my attorneys, I will invoke my right of Fifth Amendment for the Constitution to refrain from answering your questions. Okay, so that's what he just said, right? His respect for Congress. All the secretive gain of function stuff that you've been doing to put Americans in jeopardy. Without the knowledge of Congress that you're doing this because you can, under the conscripts of donating to uh, uh, donating to nonprofits so they can go out and do your dirty work. You are a dirty doctor, researcher, and then they make movies about people like you, dude. You got a pardon from President Biden, right? The least you can do is answer questions and just like Rand Paul said, he just wants to hear you say you're sorry. That's all. That's all. Don't lie. If you get about your little personal diary, what are you, a little girl? Keeping a diary? Who keeps diaries? This is stupid. Why? If you put the stuff in there, you intended people to read it later on, right? You're an 80-something-year-old man that keeps a diary. It was personal. You think you were going to keep that private? I was taught a long time ago. If you don't want someone to read something embarrassing yourself, don't put it down in a book at all. Keep it to yourself. Because you're not an important person. Nobody cares about you, Mr. Fauci, at all. Because the results you went through, you did kill a lot of people in our country with the false advertising as it was a cure, right? You pushed out a vaccine that was only to reduce the ailments and not to cure it, right? But it was marketed and it would stop it from happening again. And then there were side effects inside of the said vaccines that I'm worried about me because I got the initial shot and 2 boosters. And now I got to worry, and I suffer from high blood pressure. Now I've got to worry about an inflamed heart, what do they call myocarditis, or what do they call it? You know, Dr. Fauci, you deserve to be in jail. You do. For lying to the American public, for lying to the President of the United States, and lying to Congress. And then for the fact that you make more money when you were working for the federal government, you made more money than the President of the United States. How is that even possible? How is that even possible? Do you think you're better than all of us? There's a reason why the vice president makes less money than the president. And there's a reason why legislators, Congress, the people you say you highly respect, make less money than the vice president. So What gives here? How you make so much money? Man, the purpose of working for the government is not to get rich. If you want to get rich, go work for someone else, but don't work for the government at the same time. Man, okay. So since I'm on Anthony Fauci, I'm going to forgo rest. Let's see, where is it at? Okay, we'll start with these ones first then. Okay, because even though, well, yeah, we'll stay on this. So Comer, James Comer from the Oversight Committee in the House warned Anthony Fauci that his upcoming Senate testimony is not protected by the pardon. James Comer issued a warning Tuesday to Anthony Fauci that stating his testimony he is stated to give to Congress this week is not protected by his pardon from President Joe Biden. Biden pardoned Fauci hours before the former president left office last year. And Fauci is scheduled to testify in front of the Senate Homeland Security Committee on Wednesday, which is happening now because that's why we've got the Fifth Amendment thing, right? The expected testimony comes after hundreds of pages of his COVID-19 pandemic-era diary entries were made public. We now know why President Biden gave blanket pardon to Dr. Fauci. While obsessing about his own fame, Fauci wasn't truthful with the American people about the origins of the COVID and advised schools to be closed. Americans are still reaping the consequences of Fauci's actions. Biden's pardon doesn't cover Fauci's testimony this week, and if he continues to lie, he must be held accountable. Biden's pardon covered any offenses Fauci may have committed from January 1, 2014 through the issue date. That's 10 years. Wow. And anything related to his service as director of NIAID, that'd be National Institute of Allergies and Infectious Disease, as a member of the White House Coronavirus Task Force or the White House COVID-19 Response Team, or as Chief Medical Advisor to the President. So, yeah, he needs to answer questions. And then Rand Paul says, let's see, but there's one thing in all of his media appearances, profiles, interviews, congressional hearings that Senator Rand Paul contend Fauci never said he was sorry. I mean, I'd like to hear him say he's sorry, Paul said. He can say, I'm sorry for funding. The research was dangerous research in China. Almost everything agrees with that. Now he says, oh, well, it didn't mean the definition or this definition. Or it was dangerous speech, he continued. It was a judgment and error. It was profound judgment or error. Paul and Fauci are set to square off Wednesday morning, which we already know about, right? I'm done. I'm done with Fauci. So the president yesterday told Marco Rubio that we have formally banned gain-of-function research. Gain-of-function research is when you manipulate the inner part of a virus and weaponize it. Okay, make it into like a biological weapon. Right? That's how COVID got started. Regardless of what they say about it, that's how it got started. All right. It didn't materialize at a wet market. Someone accidentally or on purpose let it get out of a lab that was designing cosmetic weapons for use in the future, right? Regardless of what they say about it. That's the only reason that exists, because coronaviruses have been, and it's a basic cold, basically, right? It's been in our environment for decades or maybe centuries. But this was weaponized to do a different thing to the respiratory system. And that's why so many people died, right? So the Trump administration yesterday announced it officially banned gain of function research, claiming it has a potential to threaten lives and undermine national security if not properly restricted and controlled. The State Department and the Health and Human Services Department claim that although biomedical research has produced life-saving vaccines and medical breakthroughs, it must never come at the expense of public safety and national security. The policy change comes after President Trump signed an executive order last year that banned federal funding for gain-of-function research in countries like China, which is believed to be at the heart of the COVID-19 lab leak in Wuhan. The two departments said that in a joint statement that the America First approach to scientific research means ensuring that taxpayer dollars are never used to support dangerous gain of function research in the United States or abroad. The new policy also prohibits federal support of gain of function research, strengthens oversight of the high-risk life sciences research, and restricts funding for research conducts in countries that lack appropriate safety, security, and oversight measures. Scientific leadership requires both innovation and responsibility, the department said. The United States will continue to support biomedical research that develops vaccines, therapeutics, diagnostics, and other life-saving medical countermeasures while ensuring the highest risk research is subject to rigorous safeguards. We encourage our international partners to join us in ending dangerous gain of function research and adopting strong biosafety and biosecurity standards that make the world safer, more secure, and better prepared for future biological threats, they added. And the policy was developed by top officials, including Undersecretary of State Tom DeNiro and NIH Director Jay Balachera. You know, when I was in the Army, we used to do NBC training, nuclear, biological, chemical, right? And the one thing that you did not have a defense against was biological. Yeah, some of us were anthrax inoculated and smallpox inoculated. Yeah, but there's devastating viruses out that they can inflict upon us, and there's not a thing we can do. This is a very good deal. Now, the thing is that it's an EO, right? Congress needs to back it up with legislation and let the president sign it. That is the only way you're going to permanently, because, let's say a Democrat wins in 2028, right? They can go in and nix this and then go back doing the same thing over again. That is the problem that we have in our country with these EOs, right? So Congress, back it up with legislation. Talking about legislation, Jay Clayton got confirmed as the next ODNI, Office of Department of Director of National Security, DNI, right? His vote was 51 to 47. It was strictly on party lines, right? There was no bipartisan vote. The two votes that did not show to vote was Mitch McConnell, because he's in a hospital in Kentucky, and then Doreen Graham, who is with her brother's funeral procession going down to South Carolina. So it voted. He got approved 51-47. He will be the next DNI. All right. Hold on. So, Senate Republicans demanded a new, experienced person to lead the nation's spy agencies, but when given a chance, they rejected President Trump's latest pick. Still, the resistance was not enough to stop Republicans from confirming Jay Clayton to be the next Director of National Security to replace Tulsi Gabbard, who was tapped to be the top prosecutor. Clayton, who was tapped to be top prosecutor last year in Manhattan, was confirmed on a party line vote last night. He will replace acting DNI and Federal Housing Finance Agency Director Bill Pulte, whose interim appointment prompted Senate Democrats to demand an immediate permanent replacement over fears that Pulte, breaking news. Fauci attorney tossed from hearing after repeated interruptions. Boy, we should have this on TV. Matter of fact, hold on just a second. I'm going to leave it on mute, though, okay? Okay. I'll leave it on there so people can check it out. All right. Clayton's confirmation was thought to be a means to the end of the ongoing standoff over Section 702s for the FISA Act, a tool that has been used to thwart terrorist attacks, including a mass crash at a Taylor Swift concert. However, they changed the tune when it came to time to vote after a contentious confirmation hearing where only Republicans voted to send them to the Senate floor. As the Senate Republicans moved to once again to confirm an inexperienced, unqualified nominee to a position of massive national security consequence for years to come, one thing remains clear. This type of politicized leadership will only make Americans less safe. That was from Senator Shifty Schiff. He said that in a statement. Now, just about that paragraph, right? An unqualified and inexperienced person. He's a very experienced lawyer, right? Just like, Tulsi Gabbard. You know what Tulsi Gabbard does in the Army? She's a military police officer. So what makes this guy less experienced, right? The only thing, the qualification he needs is be nominated by the President of the United States. He goes before the Intelligence Committee. They make sure he's a good person. They advise and consent. They vote. They send it to the full Senate. They vote, and he's sworn in. That's all you have to do. Being a good leader doesn't mean you are all-knowing about everything. Being a good leader is putting the people below you that know what they're doing and advise you on what they're doing truthfully, right? And that's what happens in this matter. These people are making mountains out of molehills. These Democrats are, right? And then, what's the other thing he said? The position of massive national security consequence for years to come. He lied on that one too. There's barely 2 years left in the Trump administration, and then he's replaced. So, yeah, 2 years. That's all. That is all. They're concerned. They're concerned because Bill Pulte made 5 rounds of layoffs when he was the acting director, because the D&I is so bloated with bureaucrats that are leftists, and they were doing stuff behind the president's back to set him up so he could get thrown in jail. That's what they were doing. So they were cleaning house. Democrats caught on to what they were doing, and they threw a little hissy fit. That's what happened. All right. Now, the Section 702, I don't agree with that either, because just go the regular route through the Department of Justice. They get you warrants, flat out, right? Because with reports coming out about the 44 congressional officials that were there, they were allegedly they were being scooped up there, say, oh, he texted this person. Well, now we found out after a little bit more investigation, yeah, he texted this person, and this is what he said. After they assured that they were not reading the text and the voicemails of congressional members, had come out that they were. Now, if they have the guts to go after congressional people and read their text messages and their voicemails, how about what would they do to you? That is the question in mind right there. If they have the guts to go after a congressman or a senator, will they do the same thing to Joe America? And they would, because the level of disdain in these people, they don't care. They have the power, and they said, I can do this. I don't care what. I was reading the other day, there was a judge that said he didn't care what the Supreme Court ruled. Really? He needs to be impeached and disbarred. But we have Democrats that cry and moan and groan, oh, he'll be all right. He's just exercising his First Amendment rights. No, these people don't know how to go and do their job correctly, right? This is the start. Congratulations, Jay Clayton. Hopefully, your replacement over SDNY, the Southern District of New York, Jamie McDonald, gets confirmed by the Senate. I don't have that confidence, because Kristen Gillibrand and Chuck Schumer are there, and they will do anything in their power to keep the president from having any type of wins, totally, right? Well, we'll see. We'll see. What's his name? Todd Blanche. His tomorrow, his nomination goes before the Senate Judiciary Committee. He's already had his hearing. They're going to have the vote, and the vote is going to send it to the Senate floor. The only problem here is recently fired, well, he's not fired yet, but he will be January 3rd. John Cornyn said there is no deal with Trump admin that would lead to Blanche's confirmation. Rhino. So if he was wondering why he got fired from his re-election bid, he needs to look himself in the mirror and like, what did I do wrong? Oh, you want to act like a Democrat and get credit for it. That's what you did wrong. You and Tillis and Cassidy, who else? Thune. That is 4 right there. And we can put Murkowski, McConnell, there's 6, right? Collins, she's a special story. So we'll stick with those 6, all right? That's the reason why we can't get nothing done in the Congress, because we have these power people, these power-hungry people that insist what they're doing. So what John Cornyn is talking about is this $1.8 billion weaponization fund that was being funded. Okay, so the fund's been around for a while, but it was unfunded because it ran out of money. But what it was being developed for was if the federal government comes after you and you spend money on a lawyer and you have damages, that money is used with that $1.8 billion weaponization fund, right? Well, John Cornyn and Tom Tillis both want written assurances that it will be permanently taken out of offering, right? So they can't secretly fund it, which hopefully they wouldn't do it anyway, right? Because he said he wasn't going to do it. But you have John Cornyn, who thinks he's still a U.S. senator with power. He's just a municipal judge with power now, right? Because he doesn't know jack, right? He got beat really bad. So, man, I'm thirsty. Texas Republican John Cornyn denied reports Tuesday that he had agreed to confirm Todd Blanche as Attorney General later this week, stating he has no such deal has been made. Cornyn has stated that he would oppose the nomination of unless Trump administration rewrites a settlement between the president and the IRS. Hold on just a second. Okay. I just did a FOIA this morning for some applications for people that are running for city council. I cannot believe it's been a week and a half and only 2 people have filed for the same office, and there's 2 offices open. All right. But okay. So fake news alert. There's no deal on Todd Blanche's nomination. John Cornyn wrote on X. They know what they have to do. John Cornyn's warning comes ahead of a critical vote on Blanche's nomination this Thursday, which is tomorrow, where Cornyn's opposition could sink the process. Blanche has repeatedly stated that he would not bring the anti-weaponization fund back after the DOJ agreed to drop it, but Cornyn and Tom Tillis have pointed out that the language in the agreement still exists. Cornyn, who in May lost his re-election bid to Ken Paxton, said he is in active discussions with Blanche and other DOJ, but has not yet secured the revisions he is demanding to the settlement. Last time I checked, Senator Cornyn, you're a senator. You're not a judge. That should be held between the judge and the plaintiff and defendant. You are not a judge. If you want to be a judge, you should have remained a judge before you became Attorney General, right? That's a good point. Did John Cornyn ever used to be a Democrat? That is a good question. Because he got elected to the Senate in 2003, and he was the Attorney General for the state of Texas before that. And I don't know if he's a 2-term Attorney General or 1-term Attorney General, but that would 2003 back to 99, back maybe 95, and then he was a judge before that. That's a good question. Hold on just a second here while we're talking. I don't mind not doing the rest. Let's see. That is a good question. Was John Cornyn ever Democrat? Let's see. Okay, I was wrong. I apologize. No, John Cornyn was never a Democrat. He has been a lifelong member of the Republican Party throughout his entire career in public service, which includes serving as a state district judge and a member of the Texas Supreme Court, the Texas Attorney General, and the U.S. Senator. All right. So uh, he was Barrett County District Judge from 84 to 90 as a Republican, and Texas Supreme Court from 90 to 97, and Attorney General from 98. And when he got elected in 1980, he was the first elected Republican to the post since Reconstruction, and then he became a senator in 2003. All right, so I was wrong. Forgive me, and I actually apologize, like some people don't, right? But he acts like a Democrat, all right? Let me get back over here. All right. So hopefully by tomorrow, the Judiciary Committee in the Senate will pass up the nomination of Todd Blanche so he can be voted on before the full Senate and be our next Attorney General. All right. Mike Lee. Mike Lee is pressuring GOP leaders, that would be Thune and Barrasso and Cornyn, to cancel or delay the August recess until election security bill passes, right? Mike Lee is pressuring the Senate leadership so they can forego the unanimous consent for recess, right? And make everybody vote, right? He wants some type of legislation taking place on the Save America Act, in which John Thune keeps saying, no, we don't have the vote. You know, I was watching earlier today with Vince before I came in here, right? And he brought up a good point. The Save America Act won't work. That's as per John Thune, right? So you know what Vince said? Oh, why don't they put a standalone bill for voter ID before the Senate and pass it? Because, like he said, that's a 90-10 issue amongst the American people. Will the Democrats support a voter ID bill? That's a no-brainer, right? And then they can go, you know what? If that passed, let's try the must be a U.S. citizen to be able to vote. And they can vote on that one little bill all they want, right? And then the hardest one will be the mail-in ballot one, but you'll need an absolute majority on that one probably, unless they could make some trade-offs and stuff. But that was a good idea. Do a single item bill with photo ID and put it shit to vote, right? That's all they need to do. But they're calling for Mike Lee and I think 12 other U.S. senators are saying, don't go home until we get this done. I mean, they're going to need a whole lot more than that, right? But the problem is that they want to do unanimous consent for the recess, and Mike Lee says no. He will object to the unanimous consent, and every single senator will have to vote yay or nay on their view of 37-day, what do you call it? The 37-day of paid vacation. What do we got going on here? Hold on just a second. Let me see. Fauci invokes Fifth Amendment after diary release. Oh, we got the stolen valor. Richard Blumenthal talking right now. He's a trash talker. If you didn't know about Richard Blumenthal, he was when he was running for the United States Senate. He said he was a Vietnam veteran, and he's not. He served in the Army during Vietnam, but he never went to Vietnam. He's a Vietnam era veteran, and it took him a hot minute to figure out that he was lying, and he was actually lying because he knew he did not go to Vietnam, right? And he's still in the Senate. We voters, oh my goodness, voters need to take the blinds off their eyes and see. You got fools like this that manipulate. Wes Moore is another one. Tim Waltz is another one. Corey Mills is one. It just keeps going. I mean, I've got 33 months combat time. I can't lie about that. That's ingrained into me till the day I die. And a whole lot of other Americans are like that too. But, I was talking about the Save America Act. Now I'm talking about stolen valor. What's up with that? Man. But he's trash. I mean, I wish I could vote against him. He doesn't know. But back to this. I can't believe the guy wrote a diary. Anthony Fauci wrote a diary. He thought he was some little girl wants to put all her personal feelings in a book and for future references and stuff. You know what? That's another thing. In his little personal diary, did he put any classified information in that thing? That might be something to look to also, because he likes putting his little personal feelings in that thing. Did he put any classified stuff about coronavirus and stuff in there, right? Now, well, this person got a fever and they're not breathing right. And yeah, I would like to see that or review it. I mean, I could be wrong. I proved myself wrong a while ago, right? All right. So the president, the president lost an appeals court, right? And about mail-in ballots, about getting the official voter rolls of states so they can verify that people are registered to vote. So when mail-in ballots go out, they go to the exact address where they need to go, right? So it lost in, I think it won in district court and it lost something like that, right? No, it lost in district court, lost at the appeals court, and now he's appealing it to the Supreme Court, and they're looking for an emergency hearing on it because they would like it to be in place before the November elections because they know they have merits and they'll win, right? So the Justice Department asked the Supreme Court on Monday to weigh in on its dispute with 23 states regarding President Trump's mail-in ballot executive order. The EO, issued on March of this year, directs the Department of Homeland Security to compile lists of eligible voters nationwide on a state-by-state basis and seeks to block the U.S. Postal Service from delivering absentee ballots to voters who are not on state-approved lists. Solicitor General John Sauer argued that the lower court's injunction on the order was premature and extraordinary because it blocks federal officials from implementing Trump's order that merely aimed to promote election integrity. The executive order functions only to direct the president's subordinates to take appropriate and lawful action to implement the president's policy objectives, he wrote, by stopping the relevant agencies and officials from implementing that order with respect to November 2026 federal election. The injunction operates as an improper intrusion by a federal court into the workings of a subordinate branch of the government. The request comes after 24 states sued to block the order, and a federal judge in June barred the Trump administration from implementing provisions related to mail-in ballots and the state citizenship list for the November midterms in the states that sued. The appeals court upheld the lower court ruling over the weekend. The states argued that the president's order was unconstitutional because U.S. states and Congress have the authority to set election rules and not the president. Sauer argued that the Supreme Court to get involved, stating that if the administration later wins the case, then the damages would have already been done. The harms of voter integrity in that election, if the government's policy is not in place, cannot be undone, even if the government later prevails on the merits of the appeal, Sauer wrote. All right? So what they want to do is get a ruling before November, because if they uphold it and nothing happens in regards to the voter list, and Republicans lose a whole lot of seats, and then it turns out later that the Republicans were right, you still have a whole lot of Republicans that lost their races, and you can't go back to it at all. All right? What do we got on time? 8:57. So hopefully the Supreme Court will say yes, all right? Because the monstrosity of so many absentee ballots is crazy, right? It used to be a minuscule amount of absentee ballots going. Now you send them out and you never really know who's returning them. 8:57. We have President Trump eulogized Lindsey Graham yesterday. President Trump on Tuesday eulogized the late Senator Lindsey Graham during a memorial service. Speaking at the event, Trump called Graham a beloved friend and a giant in the U.S. Senate. Trump recalled Graham's rise from southern South Carolina. Nothing of significance happened anywhere in the world without Lindsey Graham having a view on it. That's true. That's true. I mean, I'm like a lot of other conservatives. We didn't always agree with everything, anything, or everything that Lindsey Graham said, but he was right about a lot of stuff. He was passionate. And I respect the fact that he stayed in the Air Force all the way to mandatory retirement and even did deployments just like I did. He did his job as a serviceman and as a statesman, which is really, a lot of people won't do that anymore. All right? There's a few, but not many. And we got 8:59. I know I didn't finish up everything. I went off about Anthony Fauci, which he's still on TV. All right? So I'm gonna go pass out some resumes at a job fair in a few minutes for my daughter because she couldn't get any PTO for to go do this. So I'm gonna go play headhunter and watch a little bit about this. All right. So I hope everybody has a great morning. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Getting back to normal again. Not reading directly from a computer screen, right? But I will be back on tomorrow morning at 6:30 Central Time and at 8 a.m. Central Time for the JP8 report. So I hope everybody has a great day, and I will talk to y'all later. Go watch some of this. All right. This is James Pierce with the JP8 report. I'll catch you on the flip side. I'm out. Oh, wait a minute. Let me do the raid. Sorry about that. I'm going to send y'all to Dan Bongino. Which is not Dan Bongino, it's Sean Farish. He's standing in for him, okay? So I'll see y'all tomorrow morning. Sorry about the delay.